The original inhabitants of Angola were scattered and few in number, causing hunter-gatherers. The expansion of another people, the Bantu, coming from the north from the second millennium, forced the Khoisan to retreat south, where residual groups still exist today in Angola, Namibia, and Botswana. In 1484, a Portuguese fleet arrived at the mouth of the Congo River, commanded by the navigator Diogo Cão, who immediately established relations with the Kingdom of Congo. This was the first contact of Europeans with inhabitants of the territory today covered by Angola, which would become decisive for the future of this territory and its populations.
By 1850, Luanda was already a large city, full of commercial firms and sporting, together with Benguela. Corn, tobacco, dried meat, and cassava flour would also begin to be produced locally. The Angolan bourgeoisie was being born. However, in 1836, slave trade was abolished, and in 1844, Angola's ports would be opened to foreign ships. The end of the monarchy in Portugal in 1910 and a favorable international conjuncture would lead the new reforms to the administrative, agrarian, and educational domain. Economically intensive diamond mining begins. Angola became one of the provinces of Portugal, overseas province. After long years of confrontation, the country reached independence on November 11, 1975. After 27 years of independence and 41 years of the beginning of the armed fight, peace was finally established on April 4, 2002 by the agreements signed in Luanda, Mochico.
The Angola Civil War is something we are sure everyone has heard of. It has existed for over 30 years and remains at a standstill. Its origin and revolution are closely linked to the country's colonial past, as well as the need to resort to violence against colonial oppression. The three main liberation movements that in the 1960s and early 1970s fought for country's independence also rivaled each other in the internal struggle for power. Such rivalities were a reflection of the social cleavages. Ethnic, and ideological cleavages produced in large part by the colonial regime. This conflict resulted in the deaths of some 500,000 people. Even after the end of the war, about 10% of the territory has approximately 5 to 10 million mines scattered, which has already caused the amputation of war parts of more than 70,000 people. The Civil War resulted in about 2 million refugees worldwide. 1828 of one were recognized in Brazil until 2006 and could reach 3,800 if we take into account the unrecognized.
The Angolan population is composed by 37% of Ovimbundos, Umbundu language, 55% of Ambundos, Kimbundu language, 13% of Congos, and 32% of other ethnic groups, besides about 2% mixed blood, 1.4% of Chinese, and 1% of Europeans. The ethnicities of Ambundos and Ovimbundos form combined the majority of the population, 62%. In addition, the country's total fertility rate is 5.54 children per woman, 2012 estimates, the 11th highest in the world. It is estimated that Angola received just over 12,000 refugees and about 3,000 asylum seekers by the end of 2007. About 11,000 of these refugees came from the Democratic Republic of Congo in 1970. In 2008, it was estimated that there were approximately 400,000 migrant workers from the same republic, at least 30,000 Portuguese and about 259,000 Chinese living in Angola. For many times, we think that we're completely different from the countries that were far away geographically. However, as incredible as it may seem, Portuguese is the only official language of Angola. Above all, it has more than 20 national languages. amongst the Nade, Umbundo, Kibundo, Kikungo, and Chokwe. The Angolan economy is, in a way, peculiar. Before independence in 1975, there was a diversified and prosperous economy, although it was characterized by huge inequalities. Today, after more than 25 years of almost continuous war, the Angolan economy is in disorder and per capita production is among the lowest in the world. Today, Angola's economy is based on exportation of oil and precious stones, mainly diamonds. But the country is also rich in iron ore and has agricultural and industrial activities.
The Human Development Index of the country is 0.581, being in 147th in the ranking. The life expectancy of the population is one of the lowest on the planet, only 42 years. The inhabitants suffer from hunger. Currently, 46% are undernourished. According to the United Nations, the infant mortality rate is one of the 10 highest in the world, and environmental sanitation is provided to less than half of households.
Angola's cuisine is influenced by Portuguese and Mozambican cuisine. Among the most present ingredients in the country's cuisine are cereals such as sorghum, corn, and millet. The country also has a rich variety of fruits, among which stands out the watermelon and the fruits of the tree known as tamarind. On a daily basis, you eat lots of roasted or grilled fish, lots of potatoes, Portuguese beans with white beans, fish stock, bean soup, duck rice, pork, and cod. In the drink sector, the big star is Cuca, a local beer.
The majority of the Angolan population profess the Catholic religion. About a quarter of the population belongs to the Protestant church introduced during the colonial period. The Baptist church, rooted mainly among the Bakongos, the Methodists, concentrated in the Ambundi area, and the Congregational churches, established among the Ovibundos, in addition to the smaller communities of Reformed Protestants and Lutherans. There are also Adventist churches, Neo-Apostolic churches, and a number of Pentecostal churches, some of which have a strong Brazilian influence. There are finally two churches of the syncret type, namely the Kimbanguist churches from the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Tocoist churches that were constituted in Angola, both with communities of rather limited size.
Practitioners of African traditional religions constitute a small minority of a residual nature, but among Christians there are often beliefs and customs inherited from those religions. Also noteworthy is the presence of Muslims from other West African countries.
For those interested in tourism, Lubango is a beautiful region worth exploring. But we point out that Angola is an expensive country, but its beauty are worth the investment. The hospitality of the people, the diversity of the cuisine, and the nature invite us to reflect. Some of Angola's tourist attractions are Kisama National Park, Falls from Calandula, Falls from Ruancana, Mussulo, Mungazebo, Iona National Park, and Zambezi River. Tourism in Angola is directly associated with the natural beauty of the country. The tourism sector in Angola is relatively new, conditioned by the civil war, which ended in 2002. Only with this small introduction to the country, we already see that many people should visit it. Its sights are attractive and the food is strictly peculiar. In spite of this, it is a very corrupt country, and for this very reason, its people suffer from so much misery. However, it is a captivating country, which has a rich and colorful culture, like much of Africa, which should be seen more for its qualities than only for the misery that prevails there.